We got two genius activities that are sitting right under your nose. And the question inherently when you land on a video like this is, will it work for me? Will it work for my group? And the answer is, the first one Mark's going to share, he's been doing for how long?
33 years.
33 years. And the one that I'm going to share with you, I have led personally with over 100,000 people, and I haven't had it flop yet. And so the chances of you succeeding, leading either one of these,
Way high.
really, really high. Hey, I'm Chad.
Hey, I'm Mark.
And we're partnered together to put this series to help you make connection really easy for your group. If you choose to dedicate a little bit of your time here for the rest of your life or career as an educator, teacher, leader, etc., you will be able to do the right exercise and become a smarter facilitator just by spending a little bit of time in cyberspace with us.
And we promise to make it fun.
Ah! Really?
Even worth it.
Fluff belongs on a sandwich, not in a video. Here is activity number 1 called
Story of your name. Now, I was chatting with Chad directly before this, suggesting that this sits somewhere in my top 80 activities. Suggesting I've come from a lot of different activities, but it really is one of those that I pull out my go-to icebreakers for this purpose. I'm going to share with you in a moment the story of my name. And so this is almost the way it would sound as if I was standing in front of a group. And in a moment, I'm going to invite you to find someone you're sitting next to, standing next to, could go find, to have a conversation. And it's going to sound a little bit like this. My full name is Mark Allen Collard. It's probably popped up somewhere on this screen as we go. And so that is my full name, and I'm going to share why I'm named Mark Allen Collard. But the best part comes towards the end, but at the beginning, the last name is Collard. C-O-L-L-A-R-D. It's a mistake. 3 generations ago, my great-great-grandfather had our name, Callard, C-A-L-L-A-R-D, incorrectly transposed on an official government form. From that point on, I have the form. We have been known as Collard ever since. We are a mistake. That's why there's not many of us in the telephone book, if you happen to even know what that is. My middle name is Allen, because in my family, the tradition is that the firstborn son assumes their father's name as their middle name. So my son Devon is Devon Mark Collard, for obvious reasons. My dad is Alan James Collard, because that was his dad's name. But the best part about my first name, Chad, so but my whole name is actually my first name. You already know my father's name is Alan. Mark was the first name of my mother's second favorite boyfriend. It's a true story. I guess the deal was, I'll marry you, Alan, so long as we name our first son after the other guy. I think my dad got a pretty special deal on that. So that's the story of my name. Now, it's highly unlikely that that's not your story, okay? You're going to have a whole...
It is not my exact story.
And you'll have a whole other name. And so at this point, I then turn it over to the group. And they ordinarily fall into one of 3 categories. They are like me, and they can't wait to get started because they know everything about why they are called what they're called. And then there'll be others who only know parts of it, and there'll be others who have absolutely no clue. And so at this point, just to help people feel a little bit more comfortable, I'll invite them that if you just share what you feel comfortable, and you also have my permission to make it up. You know, have some fun with it. You might even just want to share that. It's like, I actually don't know, but I reckon this would be a pretty cool story. So, and go. That's what happens. Do you have a story?
I do. I'll share the abbreviated version, just my first name, Chad. My mother did a report on the country of Chad in Africa in 5th grade. And at that moment, long before she was married, decided this will be my firstborn's name, Chad. Wow. That was it. And my last name, Littlefield, for generations thought we had some indigenous native heritage. Littlefield in the Native American names, right? It's like you think of combination of an activity, an animal's name. There's some significance to that. They've been given that name is Littlefield. There is no connection whatsoever.
Right, so it's not just a small little patch of grass.
I am about as white as they come. Yep. Right before hitting record, Mark and I started getting into a fight. And the fight was, he shared, okay, this is the exercise. The exercise I'm going to share with you, I've done with 100,000 people. I have not done this one with 100,000 people. And so, like your audience, when you facilitate any exercise, there's some percentage of your audience that's sitting there wondering, what are we doing about this? And we started to fight because I was like, I don't know. Specifically, the reason that I now love this exercise is At any event, any team, any organization, any class, it's important to have somebody's name. It's like an on switch to who they are. There's actually a thing called the cocktail party effect in psychology, where you could be in a crowded room in a restaurant, all this chatter happening, but if you hear your name said, you won't be hearing anything that's happening. But when you hear your name said, you'll actually perk up and turn around. It's like your brain is just listening and waiting to be called down.
Yep.
And so when, even if you don't have a direct story to your name, you've had it your whole life. And so the chances that you have something to share related to your name are probably quite high.
Very high.
Like maybe 100%?
I'd say pretty close to it. Pretty close to it.
And so you're given access to, you're inviting people to learn names in not just a task-focused way of like, let me see your conference badge, but you're actually inviting them to learn their names in a relationship-oriented way of the intention is set, tell me something about you.
Exactly, and you're going to more likely recall this as well. And there have been many groups I've worked with where they've worked with their fellow co-worker who's in the next cubicle and had no clue about their middle name and why they may have been named their first or second or last name. And so you actually, each time you pass, you're going to be reminded of the story, because we all love stories, which is what's embedded into the DNA of us as human beings. That's how we learn, is through stories more often than not.
Activity number 2 lives in this box, although you can get it free and printable in the link below. It's simply called Question Swap. And what you do is give everybody in your group a question. So if whether you're at tables or it doesn't matter. Spread out a bunch of cards with questions on them. So you could use these, or you could use any cards that have questions on them. I'm a little bit biased to these because I spent a whole lot of time writing a peer-reviewed research paper and developing over 10 years this exact question set to accelerate the time it takes for people to get into good conversations without being too threatening. Yeah. And so everybody gets a card, and the basic mechanics of it are, if I were to explain this activity as quick as possible, pair up with somebody who you know least in the room, ask the question on your card, listen to your response. So what has been the highlight of your week so far?
Oh, traveling to Pennsylvania.
Mark is from Australia. He flew here just for this moment to hang out
in
here.
Front of this camera.
And so that's the abbreviated answer. Mark's gonna ask me the question on his card.
The most adventurous thing, Chad, that you've ever done?
Ooh, I have wrestled a lobster underneath a rock while a shark swam at my face.
Hello.
So at this point, right, typically in conversation, these conversations are actually going to go on a little bit more. Peer pressure works because people end up sharing a bit more. They're aiming to relate to each other. We're in a video, we're trying to hurry things along for you because your time is precious. And so the mechanics are, we have that conversation, and very simply, we swap cards and toss our hand in the air, signaling that we're looking for somebody else to pair up with. So it's this self-facilitating, self-swapping. You've found somebody else, you have a new partner, a new question, and you're on to it. Mark's gonna share why this fits into a good icebreaker and not a crappy one. For me, one of the pieces that I love most about this is you can be in conversation for as little time as you want to and as much time. So I've led this in a group of 3,000 people where I can see these two people paired up, and they maybe discovered that they were soulmates or something, and they're just there for the rest of the 10 minutes. They're just talking with each other. And then other people who are just bouncing around collecting little snippets from 5 people. Now, that is really pretty quick and simple and remarkably engaging. It has enough movement to get blood flowing and people standing up, but not enough to freak anybody out in the moment. And so if you want to deepen it and make sure that it is absolutely connected to the purpose of why you're there at that meeting, every one of these questions, you can add context to the end.
What has been the highlight of your week so far in Pennsylvania, for example?
So you see, just by adding in Pennsylvania, Mark's changed the entire deck of questions. And so you add your purpose, the purpose of your gathering, all of a sudden everybody's conversations become about 22% more purposeful. How does that meet or not meet some of your criteria for like, this is a good icebreaker, not a bad one?
Because you and I know, as you would as well out there, that not all icebreakers are created equal. In fact, many of them fall under that category of what we refer to as an ice maker. So I want to help you understand what we've just done are just 2 examples of what makes an experience, I'm really clear about my language here, an experience effective at breaking the ice. It's not about an icebreaker.
Can I put, so one of the things I've learned recently, so I led this with heaps of people, I've started to use the word experiment, specifically with groups, if I'm like larger groups, and especially if they're analytical or a little bit, if I know they're gonna be a little bit skeptical, because experiment is this very scientific word of we're gonna do 2 rounds of this question swap. And all it is an experiment in what happens when we ask questions. So the framing actually becomes this unknown adventure, which is kind of fun. Okay.
So embedded in that word too then, Chad, is one of those key ingredients of what makes an experience effective. And it's choice, honoring choice. So when I was sharing my name, or you're with another partner and they're sharing theirs, they get to choose what they want to actually share. No one has a gun to their head, for example. Or in the experience that Chad was sharing, I would sometimes even frame it, you get to choose what you want to respond to. You get to respond any way you choose. And it might be that you just choose only a little bit of the truth or as much of the truth as you want before you swap the card. So choice is one of those elements.
Can we play with this right now?
Yeah.
We can plan this. I'm gonna ask you this question and give me an answer. What has been the highlight of your week so far?
Coming to Pennsylvania.
What has been the highlight of your week so far?
Playing with Otto.
What has been the highlight of your week so far?
Otto's
my son's name.
Yeah, I got to read a book that I brought from Australia to Otto, who is 3 years old.
With any of you with young kids, Bluey in an Australian accent. Brilliant. Okay. What has been a highlight of your week so far?
Spending it with your family.
What has been the highlight of your week so far?
And we could keep on going. I'm sure you've noticed that it either got more detailed or more broad, depending on how I wanted to answer it.
In other words, we'll insert a facilitator tip here. One of the most powerful things you can do when your icebreaker is question-based is remind the audience that they have 100% choice and autonomy in how they answer the question. So I'll often model and say, what has been the highlight of my week so far? Oh, it's just been really nice weather outside. Very, very light, very not risky and vulnerable. What has been the highlight of your week so far? Ooh, I did not expect this to come out right now. For the first time since my co-founder Will Wise passed away, I feel like I've spent a week with somebody who just fuels my ideas and thoughts, and that's been really brilliant. Thanks, Mark. That's for another video. We're going to in the second video in this series, we're going to teach you this handshake that's quite good. Yeah, beautiful.
So let's look at those elements that help make your experience effective. Choice is certainly one of them, and it can run all the way through as a thread, but it's got to be fun. It's the magnet that engages people's participation. If it ain't fun, it ain't worth doing. It's contagious. It's really hard to look cool when everyone else is having a great time. So if it's not fun, then it's probably not an icebreaker. 2, it's got to be simple. If you're going to spend too long describing what you're asking your group to do, people will have forgotten, the momentum will have been lost, and it's possibly too complex and now it becomes too threatening, which is the next thing. It also needs to be non-threatening. How often have you been in those experiences where you're in the get to know you period and you're sitting around U-shaped tables and the instructor blows in and stands up and says, okay, we've got a lot to do today. Before we get started, we'll just whip around the room and say who we are, where we're from, and how bored we are. Oh, man.
And when you're sharing, who am I thinking about?
You're about your stuff.
I'm thinking about what am I going to say? What am I going to say? My heart rate's going up. Not icebreaker.
But it's very threatening because we all know the number one fear that a human being has is what, Chad?
Public speaking.
Exactly, and we hadn't planned that, but I knew you would come up with it. The fear of public speaking, and yet we thought that was a good idea, and I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times the people who are using it are calling it their icebreaker. Bong, bong. It's just a poor excuse of not knowing what else to do. And they are some of the critical elements at any experience that help break the ice. If you're ticking all of those boxes, or hopefully most of them, it's more than likely going to be effective. And you'll note that's what we found in those 2 exercises we've shared with you just now.
And just to be clear, when Mark says one of the characteristics that it's easy, simple to get, it's not real complex. I'm gonna share both of the activities that I described to you in, let's say, under 10 seconds. Share the story of your name or how you relate to it. Number 2, pair up with somebody, ask them the question on your card. When you're done with that conversation, swap cards and find a new partner.
And one final element that runs again throughout all of this, it needs to be highly interactive. If you're not inviting people to interact at some level, it is not going to work to break the ice.
which does mean there's social risk involved, but it's the role of the facilitator to assume and take on that social risk so that everybody else can have really good conversations. We've just scratched the surface of how to make connection easy for your group. If you want to like really get smarter and attend the masterclass, if you will, you're going to want to watch part 2 of this video, which is titled, "What are some of the best team building activities?"